The elders watched the stars with eyes that had seen the birth and death of countless civilizations. They were old, wiser than any living being, and their voices carried the weight of millennia. From their shining towers in the crystal conclave, they sent messages across the galaxy to young races, warning them of the dangers hidden in the void. When humans first reached the edge of their solar system, the elders' warning came like a cold wind. Do not reach too far. The universe is not kind to the reckless. But humanity had never been a race to follow warnings. On Earth, they had survived plagues, wars, and disasters. They had built cities on mountains, farms, and deserts, and lives in places where survival seemed impossible. Fear was foreign to them, for they knew hardship and they knew hope. When their first starships left Earth, piercing the quiet darkness of space, no human hesitated. They were explorers, dreamers, and survivors driven by a force the universe could not understand. Among them, Captain Alara Voss stood at the helm of the Dauntless. Her hands gripped the console, her eyes reflecting the stars outside like twin sparks of fire. She had heard the warnings, of course, and she respected their meaning, but she did not obey them. Warnings were for those who feared failure. Humanity feared only one thing: giving up. Around her, the crew worked silently. Each one focused, yet their hearts beat with excitement. Every human aboard felt the thrill of the unknown, the promise of discovery, and the weight of proving themselves to a universe that doubted them. The elders observed silently, speaking among themselves in voices that resonated through the void. Elder Kale, the oldest among them, frowned. "They are reckless," he said. "No species can survive what they will face." Another elder shook their head. "There is something different about them, something we have never seen." But even they could not predict the stubborn fire that burned in humanity's hearts. As the Dauntless launched into the deep reaches of space, humans left behind their blue world, their seas and their mountains. They carried with them stories, memories, and a will that refused to be broken. Each planet they passed was a new challenge. Dust storms, radiation storms, and lifeless moons tried to discourage them, but humans laughed at the dangers. They learned, adapted, and pushed forward. Every obstacle became a lesson. Every failure became a spark to try harder, to do better, to survive. In the halls of the elders, whispers filled the air. "They will break," said one elder. "Their fleets are small. Their ships are fragile. Their minds are limited. They cannot possibly endure the void." Yet, even as they spoke, the humans moved further into the galaxy, mapping stars, discovering planets, and building colonies where others had seen only empty darkness. Captain Voss walked among her crew, greeting each one with a nod or a smile. She saw the young engineer repairing a ship's reactor, the navigator plotting a new course through a field of meteors, and the scientist staring out at a new, strange world. All of them were tired, all of them had doubts, but none of them stopped. Humanity had survived worse than this. Humanity had endured the impossible and thrived. And now they were not just surviving, they were claiming the stars. The elders continued to watch, their eyes narrowing, their ancient hearts feeling a mix of concern and something else. Awe. This species, small and fragile compared to the great powers of the galaxy, had something the elders had never truly seen: unshakable will. A fire that refused to die. And as the Dauntless slipped into the darkness between stars, humanity proved one thing already. The universe might warn them, the elders might caution them, but nothing could stop them, not fear, not danger, not even the stars themselves. And so, the humans pressed forward, unaware of the eyes that watched, unaware of the legends that were beginning to form. They were small, they were fragile, but they were unstoppable. The galaxy had been warned. Humanity had arrived. Humanity's first journey beyond their solar system was filled with excitement, wonder, and quiet fear. Even Captain Alara Voss, who had faced storms on distant planets and crises aboard the Dauntless, felt her heart race as the fleet approached the edge of the known galaxy. Stars stretched endlessly in every direction, and space seemed both beautiful and unforgiving. Humanity had left Earth to explore, to survive, and to prove that nothing, not even the oldest powers in the universe, could stop them. Their first encounter with another intelligent species was sudden and unexpected. The Zetherians, a civilization as ancient as some galaxies, appeared without warning. Their ships shimmered like black diamonds, and strange energy waves pulsed from their engines, freezing even the bravest human crew with awe. The Zetherians' eyes glowed through their vast ships, and they spoke without emotion, their message transmitted directly into human minds. Leave, or be erased. Most species, even advanced ones, would have obeyed. They would have turned away quietly, retreating into the darkness to survive another day. Humanity did not. The humans had heard warnings before, and they had chosen to survive anyway. Captain Voss's voice rang through the fleet, calm but fierce. We come in peace, but we will not stop. We will explore and we will endure. The Zitherians paused, surprised by the defiance. No race had ever dared speak to them in such a manner. They had conquered worlds, erased civilizations, and bent entire star systems to their will. And yet here was humanity, small and fragile, standing boldly in the void. The humans' courage, their refusal to yield, was something the Zitherians could not calculate or predict. Tension filled the human fleet. Engineers tightened panels, pilots checked their weapons, and scientists monitored the alien ships with wide eyes. The humans were afraid, but fear did not rule them. It sharpened them. Each person on board felt the weight of the moment. One wrong move could end their race's first venture into the stars. Yet alongside the fear was a spark of exhilaration. Humans thrived on challenges, and they had faced impossible odds before. For days, the Zitherians and humans hovered near each other, neither willing to back down. Attempts at diplomacy were carefully measured, but soon it became clear that words alone would not be enough. The Zitherians were too proud, too confident, too certain of their supremacy. Humanity, small and fragile in their ships, had something else. Creativity, adaptability, and unyielding determination. Human engineers worked tirelessly, modifying ships and weapons in record time. Pilots practiced maneuvers that no human had tried before. Scientists and strategists collaborated, finding weaknesses in the Zitherian tactics that seemed invisible to everyone else. Every failure, every challenge became an opportunity to learn. Humanity had been forged through struggle on Earth. Now in the darkness of space, that same forging made them stronger, faster, and more resilient. Captain Voss walked among her crew, reassuring the young officers and smiling at the seasoned veterans. They may be older, she said, her voice calm and warm, but we have something they cannot take: our will. We do not fear. We adapt, we survive, and we will not be stopped. The elders, observing silently from their distant towers, felt a shift in their calculations. Humanity was unlike anything they had predicted. They were reckless, yes, but in a way that defied all logic. Every action humans took seemed dangerous, yet somehow, they turned danger into opportunity. Every day they survived what should have destroyed them. Every day, they proved that the universe had underestimated them. As the human fleet prepared for the first confrontation, a quiet thrill ran through every member of the crew. Stars glittered beyond their viewports, and the vastness of space felt like a challenge, daring them to push further. Humanity would not flee. Humanity would not surrender. The Zitherians had issued a warning, but humanity's message was clear. They were here to stay, and they would carve their place among the stars, no matter the cost. In the cold silence of space, a spark of defiance burned brighter than any star. Humanity had met its first true test beyond the solar system, and the galaxy would never be the same again. They had arrived, and nothing, not even the oldest powers in the universe, could stop them. The humans' first real test came at Orion, a young colony on the edge of human expansion. It was a small cluster of mining stations and settlements, built with hope and sweat on barren rocks. To the Zitherians it was insignificant, a target easy to crush, but to humanity, Orion was proof that they could survive beyond Earth, proof that they could turn lifeless worlds into homes, and that proof the Zitherians decided must be destroyed. Captain Alara Voss led a fleet that was small, fragile, and outmatched. Her ships were fast and clever, but the Zitherians' fleet was vast, shimmering with energy weapons and war machines that had destroyed entire civilizations. Humans watched as the alien ships formed a circle around Orion, their weapons glowing with deadly precision. Fear whispered in their minds, but it was drowned by resolve. Humanity had survived famine, disease, and war on Earth. They would survive this too. The first wave hit at dawn. Explosions lit the darkness of space as missiles streaked toward human ships. Engineers scrambled, repairing shields and rerouting power in ways no one thought possible. Pilots maneuvered with daring precision, diving between enemy fire to protect the stations below. For every station damaged, humans repaired too. For every Zetherian strike, humans found a way to counter it. On the bridge of the Dauntless, Captain Voss felt the weight of the battle pressing on her shoulders. She watched young recruits fire at enemy ships with courage beyond their years. She saw veteran soldiers risk their lives to shield civilians. She knew the odds were against them, yet she also knew something deeper. Humanity never gave up. Even in despair, humans found hope. Even in fear, they found courage. For 3 days and nights, the battle raged. Stars became beacons of fire, and space itself trembled under the force of the clash. Communications broke, systems failed, and humans lost friends, families, and comrades. But every loss hardened them. Every failure taught them. They adapted faster than the Zetherians could predict. The aliens had never encountered a species that learned and evolved so quickly in the middle of combat. On the second day, a young pilot named Kale Rin flew a daring mission through a dense asteroid field to flank the enemy. His ship shivered under the strain, engines screaming as he dodged fire. When he struck the Zetherian flank, the enemy faltered, giving Orion a precious window to reinforce its defenses. Humanity's tactics were unconventional, unpredictable, and brilliant. They did not have numbers, but they had determination, and that was enough to change the tide. Captain Voss watched the chaos and felt pride swell in her chest. The Elder's warning echoed in her mind. The universe is not kind to the reckless. She smiled, thinking of her crew, thinking of humanity. Recklessness, courage, hope, they were all the same. Humanity had survived because they refused to yield, refused to bow to fear. By the third night, the Zetherians realized that Orion would not fall easily. Their fleet had suffered unexpected damage, and their calculations were thrown into chaos. Humanity had turned desperation into ingenuity. The settlers repaired mining lasers into weapons. Engineers converted supply ships into defensive platforms. Children and civilians worked alongside soldiers, proving that survival was not the work of one, but the work of all. As the first rays of Orion's sun touched the battered stations, the Zetherians began to retreat. Humanity had not crushed them. They were still dangerous, but the humans had survived the impossible. Orion remained, a symbol that the universe underestimated them at its peril. Captain Voss stood on the bridge, silent for a moment, watching the stars beyond. She thought of the Elder's warnings, the Zetherian threat, and the countless lives lost and saved. Humanity had proven something profound. Fear could not stop them. Power could not break them, and even the oldest civilizations could not predict their resilience. Orion had survived. Humanity had survived, and the galaxy, wide and indifferent, had been forced to take notice. The journey had only begun, but the fire of human courage burned brighter than ever, lighting the path to the stars. The battle for Orion had tested humanity like nothing before. Exhaustion hung over the fleet like a heavy shadow, but Captain Alara Voss refused to let it break them. Her crew moved with quiet determination, repairing ships, treating the wounded, and preparing for whatever the Zetherians would do next. Humanity had survived so far, but the enemy was relentless, and Voss knew the worst might still come. Then, without warning, an unexpected presence appeared on the edge of the battlefield. Ships unlike anything humans had seen emerged from a distant nebula. They glimmered with a golden light, sleek and fast, moving with precision and elegance. These were the Solarians, a nomadic species who had long avoided the Zetherians, hiding in the shadows of the galaxy. They had observed humanity's struggle and made a decision that would change everything. The Solarians joined the fight without hesitation. Their energy weapons fired in perfect harmony with human maneuvers, striking the Zetherian fleet from angles the aliens had not anticipated. The human fleet, once battered and outnumbered, suddenly found new strength. Engineers coordinated with Solarian specialists, combining human ingenuity with Solarian technology to create defenses and counterattacks that were both creative and deadly. Captain Voss felt a surge of hope as she watched the two fleets move together. She realized that this was what humanity had always been about: survival not alone, but with courage and resourcefulness, and now, unexpectedly, with allies. The Zetherians, however, were not willing to yield. Their command ship, massive and glowing with dark energy, moved forward, aiming to crush the humans and their new allies in one decisive strike. Voss knew that ordinary tactics would not work. Humanity had never relied on ordinary. With a firm voice, she rallied her fleet. "This is our moment. Fight not just for Orion, not just for survival, but for every human who ever dared to dream. We do not retreat. We do not fear. We endure and we win. The humans and Solarians launched a daring assault on the Zetherian command ship. Pilots dove through a storm of energy blasts, dodging lasers that could melt steel. Engineers redirected all power to shields and weapons, keeping their ships alive against impossible odds. Soldiers and civilians alike worked in harmony, a single force of courage and determination. Captain Voss herself took the Dauntless into the heart of the enemy formation. Her hands moved with calm precision, guiding the ship through chaos. She could see the command ship trembling under the assault, its shields flickering, its crew panicked. Humans had done the impossible. They were not just surviving, they were leading the charge against one of the oldest powers in the galaxy. The turning point came in a single, brilliant moment. With coordinated strikes from human and Solarian ships, the command ship's engines were disabled. It drifted, vulnerable, and the Zetherian fleet faltered, confusion spreading like wildfire. What had seemed inevitable, the fall of Orion, the destruction of humanity, was now being reversed. Humanity had taken control of their fate. As the Zetherians began to retreat, Captain Voss allowed herself a brief smile. The battle was not over and the war would continue. But for the first time, humans had proven that courage, ingenuity, and an unyielding will could defy even the most ancient enemies. She looked at her crew, exhausted but alive, and saw something extraordinary. They had faced death, destruction, and fear, and they had found strength in each other. Humanity had learned that survival was not just about power or numbers, it was about hope, unity, and the stubborn refusal to surrender. The stars above Orion burned quietly, almost in admiration, as if acknowledging the fire that now blazed among the humans. Captain Voss whispered to herself a promise and a declaration. We are not done. We will continue and nothing will stop us. The turning point had arrived. Humanity had faced the impossible, and with unexpected allies and unbreakable resolve, they had begun to change the course of history in the galaxy. Orion survived. Humanity endured. And the universe was beginning to realize that they were not a race to be underestimated. After the battle at Orion, humanity's reputation spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Even distant civilizations who had only heard whispers of the small blue species now watched with awe. The elders who had once warned against humanity's reckless expansion were forced to reconsider. There was something extraordinary about these humans, something that could not be measured, calculated, or predicted. Captain Alara Voss guided the Dauntless and her fleet onward, deeper into the uncharted void. Humanity's colonies, still young and fragile, were growing stronger. Engineers worked tirelessly to transform barren planets into homes. Scientists studied alien ecosystems with curiosity and care. Settlers planted crops in dusty soils, built shelters under strange suns, and celebrated every small success as a victory against the indifferent universe. Humans faced countless challenges. Rogue asteroids threatened colonies. Strange storms tore through planets. Alien creatures, hostile or mysterious, tested their courage. But humanity adapted. Every obstacle became an opportunity to learn, to invent, to grow stronger. They had survived worse on Earth. The stars were only new terrain for their resilience. Captain Voss often walked among her crew, encouraging them, listening to their stories, and sharing her own. Young recruits would speak of their families left behind on distant colonies. Veterans would describe narrow escapes in asteroid fields. Every story, every struggle added to the shared spirit of humanity, the fire that refused to die no matter how dark the void. The elders watched in silence. They had seen civilizations rise and fall, yet none had moved through the galaxy like humanity. Humans did not rely solely on power, wealth, or advanced technology. They relied on hope, courage, and an unshakable will. Where other races had feared failure, humans had embraced it, learning and growing stronger with each mistake. News of human ingenuity traveled faster than the speed of fleets. Nearby species, once indifferent or fearful of the Zetherians, began to seek alliances with humanity. They saw that humans were not just survivors, they were pioneers, capable of turning impossible challenges into opportunities. New friendships formed, bonds strengthened, and slowly, humanity's influence spread without conquest, without tyranny, only through courage and determination. Captain Voss often stared at the stars from the bridge of the Dauntless, wondering what lay beyond the next system. Every new star held a promise of discovery, every new planet a chance to grow. She thought of the children born on these distant colonies running under alien suns, learning the stars as their playground. She thought of engineers creating marvels in zero gravity, of pilots racing through asteroid belts with daring and skill. Humanity was no longer just a species. They were a force born of survival, curiosity, and courage. And yet, despite the victories, humanity never became arrogant. They remembered Orion, the battles they had fought, and the lives lost along the way. Every achievement carried a weight of responsibility, a promise to continue forward without fear. They knew that the universe was vast, full of dangers, mysteries, and civilizations older and stronger than themselves. But they also knew something more. Their spirit was unbreakable, and their will could not be measured. The elders finally spoke among themselves, voices tinged with a rare emotion: respect. "They do not fear," said one. "They do not yield. They grow stronger with every challenge." Elder Kale, the eldest, remained silent for a long moment, his eyes on the distant stars. Perhaps the warnings were not for them. Perhaps they are meant for something else. Something smaller, weaker. Humanity moved onward, fearless and unstoppable. They built colonies on barren worlds, navigated deadly phenomena, and brought hope to species that had long forgotten it. Every step into the void was a statement. Humans would not be stopped. They had survived, they had adapted, and now they were inspiring the galaxy itself. Captain Voss looked at her crew one night, exhausted but smiling. "We have come far," she said softly, "but the universe is only beginning to see what we can do. And we will keep moving forward, together, unafraid, unstoppable." Across the void, stars shimmered like 1,000 eyes, bearing witness to the rise of a small blue species that refused to be broken. Humanity had survived the impossible, and the galaxy could no longer ignore them. They were not just alive, they were becoming legend. The elders had watched humanity grow, expand, and survive where no other species had dared. Their crystal towers in distant galaxies had seen wars rise and fall, planets crumble, and civilizations disappear. They had expected humanity to falter, to bow before the universe's vast dangers. Yet here they were, humans, still standing, still reaching for the stars, still refusing to yield. At last, the elders decided to confront them directly. In a neutral system bathed in golden light, they appeared immense and imposing, their ships gleaming like living crystals. The humans approached cautiously, the Dauntless leading the fleet, but there was no fear. Captain Alara Voss had faced the Zetherians, rogue phenomena, and dying colonies. She had led her people through chaos and despair. The elders' arrival was only another test. When the elders spoke, their voices resonated through the void, deep and powerful. "Humans, you have ignored our warnings. You have trespassed where others would perish. You have survived challenges no race could endure. Explain yourselves." Captain Voss stepped forward on the bridge, her eyes steady and calm. Her voice carried across the channels of space, firm but respectful. "We are humans. We survive because we must. We explore because it is who we are. We learn because the universe challenges us, and we do not back down. Nothing, no warning, no enemy, no star can stop us from moving forward." The elders studied her, ancient faces unmoved yet deeply curious. They had seen ambition before, but never like this. This was not arrogance. It was determination. It was courage. It was the fire of survival that refused to be extinguished, no matter how dark the void. For hours, the elders questioned humanity, testing their knowledge, their strategies, and their morality. They tried to predict their failures, to find weakness, to see where fear would take hold. But every answer, every maneuver, every choice proved the humans' resilience. Humanity had learned from the universe itself, adapting to each obstacle, growing stronger with every challenge. Captain Voss walked among her fleet, her crew watching her with quiet awe. They had survived battles that should have destroyed them. They had protected Orion. They had made allies where there were none. Every human knew without speaking that they were witnessing history. They were proving something that had never been proven before, that their species' will could defy even the oldest and wisest civilizations. Finally, Elder Kale, the eldest of the elders, spoke again. His voice was softer this time, almost reverent. We warned you. We told you that the stars themselves would crush the reckless. And yet you endure. You grow, you adapt. We did not believe it possible, but the proof stands before us. Captain Voss's lips curved into a small, proud smile. You warned us and we heard you. But fear is not our guide. Survival is. Exploration is. Hope is. We do not live in fear of what the universe might do to us. We live to overcome, to endure, and to thrive. That is humanity's way. The elders were silent for a long moment, absorbing the force of her words. They had warned countless species, yet none had ever answered with such clarity, courage, and resolve. Humanity had done more than survive. They had redefined what it meant to endure, to strive, and to rise above impossible odds. Captain Voss looked out at her fleet, at engineers, pilots, and scientists who had given everything they had to reach this moment. She thought of children born on distant colonies, laughing under alien suns, learning the stories of human courage and persistence. She thought of every human who had lived, struggled, and dreamed. Humanity was not just alive, they were a force of destiny, unyielding and unstoppable. The elders finally departed, not in anger, not in judgment, but in awe. Their voices, echoing across the void, carried a single thought. They were warned, and yet, nothing can stop them. And in that silence, humanity stood taller than ever. The galaxy had witnessed their defiance, their courage, and their will. Nothing, not even the universe's oldest powers, could extinguish the fire burning in human hearts. Captain Voss turned to her crew, her voice steady and filled with quiet triumph. This is only the beginning. Humanity moves forward. We survive, we endure, and no force in the stars can stop us. The humans cheered, the sound carrying through their ships and into the void. The galaxy listened, and for the first time it knew. Humanity was not to be underestimated. They were unstoppable, unyielding, and unforgettable. The galaxy had watched, waited, and underestimated humanity for too long. From fragile colonies on barren worlds to daring fleets in the darkest reaches of space, humans had proven that no obstacle was too great, no enemy too powerful, and no warning too dire. They had faced the Zetherians, defied the Elders, and survived challenges that would have crushed any other species. And now they were ascending, becoming a force that the stars themselves could not ignore. Captain Alara Voss stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, gazing out at the endless expanse. Stars glittered like diamonds against black velvet. Planets turned in slow, silent orbits, and distant galaxies shimmered with possibilities. Her crew bustled around her, tired but unbroken, their eyes filled with hope and determination. Every human aboard knew the weight of what they had accomplished, and the responsibility of what was still to come. Humanity was no longer just surviving, they were defining the future of the galaxy. New colonies flourished. Worlds that were once lifeless became homes. Cities rose from rocky surfaces, forests were planted in deserts, and oceans were created where none had existed. Humans had brought life to the void, not through conquest but through courage, ingenuity, and relentless persistence. Engineers, scientists, and settlers worked together, learning from alien ecosystems, understanding new environments, and shaping worlds with care and vision. Even distant civilizations watched in awe. Species that had long feared humanity now sought alliances. They admired not only human resilience but their determination to protect and nurture, rather than dominate. Humans had become a symbol of hope, a reminder that even a small, fragile species could stand against the impossible and thrive. Captain Voss often thought of the Elders, who had once warned them of doom. Those warnings had not been ignored. They had been transformed into strength. Every challenge humans had faced had forged them into something greater than the sum of their struggles. Humanity had learned that fear was not a guide, that survival was not just endurance but growth, adaptation, and courage. As fleets moved through the void, exploring unknown systems, humanity inspired stories and legends. Children on new worlds grew up hearing tales of daring pilots, brilliant engineers, and fearless explorers. They learned that humanity's strength was not in power alone, but in the will to keep moving forward, to face the impossible with hope, and to never surrender. Even the Elders, watching from their distant citadels, could not hide their awe. Elder Kale, the eldest of them all, whispered quietly to his companions, "We warned them, and yet nothing has stopped them. They have shown us what it means to endure, to fight, and to rise above the stars themselves." Captain Voss walked among her crew one evening, sharing quiet moments with the men and women who had risked everything. She saw laughter, tears, and determination in their eyes. Humanity had survived death, war, and despair, but more than that, they had thrived. They had proven that the universe's oldest and strongest powers could not crush a species with courage, hope, and an unbreakable spirit. Looking out at the stars, Voss whispered a promise to herself, to her crew, and to every human alive or yet to be born. We will keep moving forward. We will explore. We will endure. And nothing, no power, no danger, no star can stop us. Humanity will rise and the universe will remember us. Across the void,